going on, everyone?
Yo, yo.
I am Eddie.
I'm Adam.
This is Marcus.
And we're the Average Sports Guys. This is the Average Sports Guys podcast. Today is episode 72.
72.
And we will be covering the NFC West. So
Let's go.
In the NFC West, you have the Los Angeles Rams, the Seattle Seahawks, the Arizona Cardinals, and the San Francisco 49ers. But before we get into that, it has been a minute since we have had Adam on the show.
Let's go.
You were last in Washington State, and before that, I believe it was your mom's birthday or something, so you were unable to record with us.
Yeah, man. Mom turned 66.
Oh, nice.
Let's go.
I think
It's a big one.
Shout out to Mom. Let's go, Mom.
Yeah. I think my mom, no, she's not 66. I think she's like 63 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So, of course, we'll never fault you for taking care of family stuff.
Absolutely not.
But tell us about your trip to the Seattle area, and what can you tell us that's going on in Seattle Seahawks camp, hanging out with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson.
Right.
Oh man, yeah. If only I did get a chance to go to the camp. But Seattle was awesome, man. I gotta say, like I was a little nervous about the rain, and we had like 3 days of it, but it was never that bad. Like it was never torrential or anything. It was just a little bit of a drizzle. You know, you just kind of kept it moving and went right through it. And then the second half of the trip was just like beautiful weather. It was just sunny West Coast. It was real cool being out there on a city that's like that close to the water and then that close to the mountains too. Like, you know, you could go eat in the city, hike, and then get a drink right on the water. You know, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, man. Let's see what's going on with the Seahawks. I would say the main deal, right? Like the main thing we got to think about with the Seahawks is just the new offensive coordinator, right? Like,
oh yeah,
that feels like that's the key signing, right? But I don't know. What do you guys think?
For me, like on top of that, you also have to look at the offensive line because without that, at some point, we got to do a better job of protecting Russell Wilson, right? I mean, if you look at the stats, I mean, they're getting better. So you have guys like Dwayne Brown. He was the best lineman that they've had since 2017. Damian Lewis at right guard. He's going to be transitioning to center, so that's a huge question mark. Brandon Shell had a career year. He had a 71.4 overall ranking as a defensive lineman. He still has to work on, if I'm not mistaken, his pass protection. But offensive lineman, yeah. So it's overall, it's making sure that offensive line is intact, right? To make sure, like, yes, Russell Wilson can escape, but Father Time will catch up with him at some point, and you don't want that man taking a hit he doesn't have to take.
Yeah.
So I do agree with your point, but adding on to that, making sure the offensive line is straight.
So I think the offensive coordinator is key, right? So what sort of system are they going to run? If it's the same old that Russ has pretty much been accustomed to his whole career,
right?
Who knows how that will translate? Is this guy going to be more run heavy or I should say run centric? So Russ isn't having to throw 35 to 40 times a game.
Right.
I know he likes to throw the ball, but at some point, you know, you got to be able to hand that ball off, control the clock. So my main question with that offense is really how their run game is going to be. I think they have pass catchers galore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so how they utilize that running back and what the offensive coordinator's overall vision is for accomplishing, you know, essentially what they want.
Right.
Remains to be seen, obviously. So, but yeah, I mean, I do think it's key, you know, sometimes getting in new and fresh ideas are pretty good, especially if he's an innovative guy.
Absolutely. And if you actually look at their like offensive like rankings from last year, like the Seahawks were 6th in passing and 12th in rushing. So you have to at least maintain that moving into next season.
Yeah, you definitely can't regress.
Yeah, I think so they picked up Waldron, right? And I think they took him from the Rams, which makes me think it's going to be a pass heavy type of offense, right? And which I think is what Russ wants, because at the beginning of the last season, he set the league on fire, and then they kind of petered out towards the end.
Right.
But like the weird conflicting thing though, right, is Coach Carroll was saying that he wanted to go back to the run. So I don't know. It's like I'm just still not sure what's going to come out of there, but I'm assuming it's going to be a pass heavy offense. That'll keep Russ happy, and we should see more fireworks.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would expect nothing less of Russ just being Russ.
Russ things.
I can see him checking out of a run play too. You know what I mean?
At this point, why not, right?
Even if they called it.
Because who's going to fault you at this point? Because everybody goes back to that one key moment.
Well, what are they going to do? I mean, what are they going to put somebody else in there?
I mean, honestly, if I was Russ, I'd be like, remember that one play with Marshawn Lynch where I should have handed the ball off and like let me run this offense, fam. So I agree. Like I wouldn't mind him, checking out of things and.
Yeah. So question for you both. Obviously, the Rams have acquired Matt Stafford early in the offseason. What does he do for the team? And then is it Super Bowl or bust for them? Meaning, like, so I don't necessarily think they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, let me rephrase that. What sort of expectation would you have if you were in that front office after making that move, and or if you were a fan like of the team? What would you expect from the Rams having made that move? Adam, we'll start with you.
Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, if they were in any other division or really any other division, and I was a fan, I would think they're winning the division, right? Like this is like, that's a big time move. They already had a lot of pieces, right? The defense was good. The offensive weapons are there. And it always just felt like Jared Goff was kind of the limiting factor.
Right.
And I just think Stafford in pretty much every way is just better than Goff, right? Like he can just read a defense. He's tougher. He's smarter. He's got more arm talent. I think this is a massive upgrade at like that key position where like the only position where it felt like they were kind of behind the ball. So yeah, I think like if I'm a fan, I'm expecting them to take the division.
Okay. How about you?
Honestly, for me, it's like being in high school, right? And you have a 98 Honda Civic with a spoon engine. And then that spoon engine is essentially Jared Goff. And then you just LS swap that thing and then drop, a whole LS engine with a supercharger in it. And that's like legit Matt Stafford, right? Like you couldn't put in my opinion, a free agent a better quarterback or in that situation where he has a cannon of an arm. You're giving him every single weapon at every level. The offensive line is great. I mean, just looking at the numbers, you have guys like Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, Cam Akers at running back, and Darrell Henderson. Like, you can't ask for a better offensive core of pieces, and you're getting a guy who has no excuses at this point, like you said, who is tough, who can make those crazy deep throws, and who's going to make the right decision most of the time. So I agree, it's definitely the division at this point. Like they have to at least take the division and do something in the playoffs. Like I anticipate them at least making it to the NFC Championship game. They're my favorites right now on paper as to be in the Super Bowl because there are no holes, like especially on the other side of the ball. You still got Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald leading the charge on that side of the ball. So
Yep.
Yeah, so to kind of add to that, I mean, same thing, right? Like, if I'm that front office and then even from a fan's perspective, you should be able to take that division. The reason I say that is the Seahawks seem to deal with injuries every single year. The Cardinals, who knows what they're going to be. I think they started out fine, and then they kind of tailored off. So who knows? 49ers last year, I mean, maybe you could say it was an anomaly due to tons of injuries all across that roster. But even with some of their pieces coming back, the Rams just look like they're built better and they're built to last.
Right.
So again, let's just assume nobody has crazy injuries. I still think if you go head to head, the Rams should take the division. So I actually look for them to get to the NFC Championship game.
Absolutely. So with all that being said, like, what's your thoughts on the Cardinals? Like, what are your expectations for them?
Yeah, okay, I can start this one off. I mean, they kind of just set the tone right off the bat, right? With the pickup of JJ Watt. Like to me, it feels like they look at themselves as kind of entering their window, right? Yep. Last season, the defense wasn't quite there, and the offense was figuring things out, right? Like we saw flashes. Kyler Murray is a game changer, right? I don't know how much I trust. What's their coach's name again? Blanking on his name right now.
Oh, jeez.
Bruce Arians?
No,
He's
no,
in
no.
Tampa.
He's with Tampa.
I'm
now.
sorry. Yeah, he is with Tampa. My fault.
Young dude.
Young dude. Oh gosh.
Kingsbury.
Kingsbury.
There
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. That's
Cliff.
right.
Old
Cliff
Cliffy.
Kingsbury. My fault. Yeah.
Yeah, young handsome dude. No,
Yeah.
I mean, he's known for being an offensive mind,
Right.
And I think he's the right coach for the offense that they want to run with Kyler Murray.
That's
but
right.
I don't know that I trust him to really lead that offense quite yet. But yeah, I mean, they just kind of they're plugging holes left and right.
Yes.
Like JJ Watt is nasty.
They
I mean,
are.
let's talk about like a sneakier pickup. They got AJ Brown.
Yeah. AJ Green.
I'm sorry, AJ Green. AJ
Yup.
Green. Who's
Dude.
he hasn't been that great lately because I think durability isn't concerned, but he doesn't have to worry about being the number one guy anymore,
Right.
and he's nasty, right?
Yep.
Dude. So on top of I'm gonna start off with that. So like, your number one is who? D-Hop, right?
Yeah.
And your number two is AJ Green. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun. I anticipate Chase Edmonds going off next season just because it's going to be a very hard decision to stack the box at this point. I hope that they continue to grow Kyler Murray within that offense, and I think adding an AJ Green definitely is going to boost his confidence. I liked him, even though I'd like to see him run a little bit less just because of, his size for the most part. Like, he's a little guy, but he has crazy wheels. But on the opposite side of the ball, you have guys like you said, JJ Watt, Malcolm Butler, Isaiah Simmons, and then they got Zaven Collins in the draft. So to that point, I think they'll be okay. Also, my fault, my bad for not bringing up Chandler Jones, Jordan Hicks, who came from Philly, who's a brilliant mind at the middle linebacker position, but they also got Budda Baker back there. So if they can just remain healthy and just maintain and then, continue to play consistent defense and try to make teams one-dimensional, get Zaven Collins' head right, because I don't know if you guys heard, this dude got caught doing 76 and a 35 and got arrested. Like, you just got to the league, bro. Like, calm down. Like, we need you on the field. And I think that, and I don't even think, in my opinion, I'd rather, for this infraction, having the leaders on the team address the situation. And then later on, if it becomes a problem, it goes to the head coach, because he needs to understand that your actions off of the field affects the team, right? So I think hopefully that's their approach to addressing that situation. But with that being said, saying that he is available throughout the season, barring any suspensions or anything like that, I like this team to possibly be a wild card team just what I'm seeing on paper. But like I said, it's basically predicated on the offense, how healthy they are, and if they can continue to develop Kyler Murray on offense and the defense maintaining. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so just to piggyback on Kyler not running so much, I think that clearly is part of pretty much like his game, right?
Right.
To his advantage, yes, size-wise, I think if he's in the open field and he gets hit, he can get crushed.
Killed.
But if you go back to who's in Seattle, Russell Wilson, being a quote-unquote smaller guy, he sometimes hides behind those linemen who are huge.
That's true.
And Kyler Murray's even shorter, so and he has that escapability, and he's so quick that I think he can do enough. Like, I think he reads it well on when to get down, when to get out of bounds, and when to be able to tuck it up and run. So my concern isn't really there. I mean, from just a quarterback standpoint, you would like to see him just play it more traditionally, but it's growing on me more to see these quarterbacks like running, because it just adds a different element. Kind of what you were talking about earlier. Can you truly stack the box? Because Kyler Murray is a run threat, let alone their running back. Right. So with those receivers that they have and what they can put together, I don't see too many teams doing that. I think it is situationally, right? Like you're going to do it. But Isaiah Simmons is somebody that I look for to figure out if they kind of retool his role with the team, because he's kind of that in between hybrid linebacker and like safety. Right. And people had these high expectations. I know people in Washington wanted us to draft him. So just to be able to see kind of if they reevaluate his position or his role per se and change him around. But I think with JJ Watt there and like you said, was it Zaven Collins? I think they'll have some freedom to be able to either bring him up on the line, you know what I mean, mix him in different places. But yeah, I mean, I think their defense can be very serviceable.
100%, because they were 17th in. I'm sorry, give me just a second. So they were 22nd against the run last season, and I think just adding those pieces, like you said, is definitely going to
should bring him up at least 18, 17, somewhere around that way.
So, at least. So as far as their defense, I'm no longer concerned because they were, I think they were top 10 within the pass. So pass defense. So I'm not worried about the pass. It's more about stopping the run, and that they certainly address those issues.
Yeah.
And then as far as offense, they were 17th in passing, 7th in rushing. So I definitely expect them, passing wise, they're going to be higher ranked. And then if they can just maintain with the rushing, they definitely have a great chance of picking up a wild card spot.
Yeah, especially if AJ Green can stay healthy.
Facts.
He's going to have to prove himself as a viable option, meaning I don't think teams are going to really respect him much until he starts getting busy on people. Then I think that's really going to open things up for D-Hop. And I mean, because he gets busy with two guys on him anyway.
Those Moss moments are disgusting.
Right. So I think the potential for them to have a breakout year offensively is there.
Right.
So I mean, obviously, we'll just have to wait and see. So let's go ahead and get into and Marcus, I do agree with you. I can see them sneaking into a wild card slot. We'll go ahead and get into the 49ers. But before I say that, I really, and you guys can chime in, I'm really having a hard time believing that this isn't the toughest division in the NFC.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
by
easily.
far. I mean, they were tough last year. You know what I mean? So, it's going to be a dogfight for sure.
Absolutely. This is going to be a fun division to watch.
Yeah. So let's get into Kyle Shanahan and his 49ers. So obviously they drafted Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. Does he start week 1? Adam, we'll start with you.
I don't think so. I don't think Shanahan is the kind of guy to hold him back from starting. Like if he comes to camp and he earns it, then I think he will. I just think I think Garoppolo is still serviceable. The reports out of camp is that he's bulked up. Like he's kind of maybe them using that high of a pick on a quarterback has lit a fire under his ass a little bit. Like he's got something to prove.
Yep.
So I don't know that Lance takes his spot in week 1. Because I think like last season, we already alluded to it, but it's kind of a wash for them, right? Like they just got destroyed by injuries.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, for sure. It was like I want to say between 60%.
It reminded me of Washington a couple years ago.
Right.
Yeah. I felt that pain. I could empathize. So I think they're going to be coming back in healthy.
Right.
I think Garoppolo's going to have all of his arsenal to work with. So I don't think Lance starts right off the bat. What about you guys?
Yeah, so I agree with you. I don't think they drafted him with the expectation that he'd start week 1. I think he'll be available should something happen to Garoppolo, but pretty much Garoppolo would have to, for lack of a better term, shit the bed for Trey to be able to just take over week 1. Now, to Adam's point, I think if he goes in and lights it up in camp and preseason, then yeah. But I mean, if you go back and you look at Trey Lance's game, I think overall talent and potential is there, but he's got a lot of things that he needs to prove, and some things that he needs to clean up. And I don't think there is that pressure or need for him to start week 1. So to me, I'm looking if they're expecting the kid to take the keys to the Porsche this year, I'm thinking more towards like week 8 or 9, especially depending on how their season is going. They could get out there and blow some cats out, and Trey can get in there and get some live reps. Who knows? But week 1 starter, no, I don't foresee it. How about you, Marcus?
Yeah, I'm not disagree. I totally agree because of just the situation that they're in. I mean, what's Jimmy Garoppolo's biggest issue? It's his health, right? So barring that, of course you want to give your number 1 draft pick time to learn the offense. And in all honesty, like you can't walk into a more balanced offense than the 49ers right now. I mean, with Mostert, Ayuk, Kittle, Samuel, Sanu, and then they got Wayne Gallman in the offseason. Adding him to the run game, it's going to be a huge thing moving forward with his development. But overall, like you guys said, I don't expect him to start week 1 unless Jimmy Garoppolo either gets injured in camp somehow or he wets the bed and you have no choice but to start.
That was a better. I should have said that instead of saying shit. I really got to start watching my man. This is a family show. Wet the bed. That's a good one, Marcus.
For sure. So what do you guys think about the rest of the squad though? Like as far as their contention and what are your a better question. What is your expectations for the Niners this season?
Adam, you can go.
I just as we just continue to go over more and more teams, I'm just like, God, I don't know. Like this division is stacked, right?
It is.
Right. It's loaded.
Look at other divisions, and there are like maybe 2 really good teams, 3 really good teams. This is the first one where I'm like, yeah, any 4 of these is like a problem matchup, right? I don't want to play any of these guys.
Nope.
The Niners, it's so tough, but I just feel like the upgrades that the Cardinals and the Rams have made just kind of put them over the top for me.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that I'd be concerned about with the Niners is they no longer have Saleh as their defensive coordinator.
They do not.
Right? And while they are still quite talented on defense, I think there was something to be said for just the straight up energy that dude had.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Like he got his boys jacked up.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Facts.
Like he prepared like he was about to play.
100%. Like he's the one high school football coach that'll put the pads on in the helmet and then get right there at the linebacker position and be like, all right, we're running the play. Yeah. Like he's that type of dude.
He had the forehead veins popping and everything. Like I was like that dude could have ran out there on the field.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's my one concern. I feel like I don't know where they're going to stand on defense this season.
For sure. And to your point, just to show you just to talk about how great Saleh was as a defensive coordinator, they were 4th in passing on defense and 7th in rushing. Mm-hmm. I mean, granted the talent's there, but also that speaks to his ability to coach the defense.
Yeah. Well, if you just look back to Washington, once Ron and Jack Del Rio got there. Now, granted, there was the addition of Chase Young,
right?
But I mean, obviously, some late round gems, but coaching really comes into play because we've had other coaches here, and we've had decent to a little bit better than decent overall talent on our defense, but we were just getting gashed. I think like Adam, if you remember back even when like DJ Swearinger was here, he even said it like cats are out of position, like they're not put in the best position to succeed. Right. So that was a point that I actually hadn't thought of. So I'm glad, Adam, you brought that up. But
Facts.
So them losing Saleh, we'll see. I mean, yes, talent is there, but whoever's coaching them, I mean, they gotta definitely, big shoes to fill there. But
for sure.
I mean, the division top to bottom is no joke. So those are the 4 teams. Real quick, because we got to move on to team news before we end the show. Marcus, who do you have as a division winner? And if there is going to be a wild card, who is it going to be?
Division winner's the Rams. The wild card is the Cardinals.
Adam?
Same.
Yeah, same for me. I think Seahawks missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think something's gonna go wrong towards the end of the season.
Right.
And they're just gonna spiral out of control. Mm-hmm. It's gonna set into Russell Wilson's mind that he really wants to get traded. The season's almost over.
Right.
I'm gonna start figuring out where I'm gonna go, X, Y, and Z. He'll still be a professional, he'll still play, but once their season is lost, those types of things are gonna set in. The 49ers, I still think they've got a little ways to go. To Adam's point, if you look at what the Rams and the Cardinals did to truly upgrade, they both made moves that says this is our time,
right? And
it starts now. So yeah, I'm gonna go Rams with the division win, and the Cardinals backing it. Oh, I shouldn't say backing it. It's kind of disrespectful. Getting in on a wild card. So
right.
So we're all in agreement there, and as far as team news, not a whole lot in Washington that I saw going on. I did see Tanya Snyder, which is Dan Snyder's wife, was named as the co-CEO of the Washington football team.
Let's go.
Take that for what you will. I'm all for women in like
Positions of leadership.
Yeah, positions of leadership, things like that.
For sure.
I'll keep my comments about the Snyders to myself. But yeah,
it's a shame that the Snyder name has to mar, an accomplishment or announcement like that, right?
Right.
Hey.
Right. But I will say to Dan's credit, he seems a little bit more personable. No, he doesn't do a ton of interviews. There was a TMZ video, which some people say was set up and staged because, he never really talks to anybody.
Right.
When they were going around looking at stadiums and stuff because they're trying to design the new one. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think he did good year one with Ron Rivera there and Jason Wright. Like, Snyder stayed out of it. Now, he had litigation he had to deal with. But still, if he can continue that trend and just let our team be run like a good organization, then, I think the image of him will change over time. But either way, that's the news. Tanya Snyder, co-CEO of the Washington football team. Marcus, what's going on in Eagles land?
So Isaac Bruce, a member of one of the greatest show on turf, got a chance to check out Devontae Smith, and he likened his ability and mannerisms to that of Marvin Harrison. He's a quiet guy. He's going to go out, do his job, and be dynamic on the field. So that's great too. That's a great comparison because you're talking about the MH, right? So
that's high praise.
That's a lot of high, especially from somebody from the greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
So, I mean, apparently he's as advertised. The bigger question right now is, what is Jalen Hurts going to do with the football and passing situations? We already know he can run. We know he can, be that run threat, but is he going to make the right throw more likely than not? I think that's what everybody's waiting to see. And then also Sirianni with his coaching ability in game situations. Aside from that, we have Andre Dillard. He's been catching a lot of slack this offseason of potentially coming out as a bust. But with the whole injury thing, I don't know you can necessarily say that. It just proves to show that Jordan Mailata, as far as the left tackle position, has come a long way since he's been with the Eagles. And, it's Andre Dillard's priority to try to take that position from him. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. Aside from that, they just talked about position battles and things like that to look out for. Josh Sweat had actually a half sack more than Derek Barnett, which is very quiet, but, that's something we need to look for.
Montez Sweat over whatever your guy's name is. I'll take our Sweat. I'll take our Sweat over your Sweat.
Over the Eagles Sweat. I feel you.
No shade, no disrespect, my brother.
I feel you, but I don't feel you. All right, so aside from that, the bigger news that's just dropped over the past 4 hours is that the Eagles are allegedly nearing a deal with the Bills for Zach Ertz. There are no details that have been released yet as far as what the compensation is, but Ertz hasn't shown up to OTAs or whatnot. He's been very quiet, but the rumor is that we're getting very close to a trade. I'm interested to see what we get in compensation. I'm hoping for a third, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, y'all be lucky to get some Buffalo wings and some movie passes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, shit.
Be respectful. That's a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
But for real, we'll see what we get. But man. That's what I got.
All right, cool. Well, this was episode 72.
72.
Again, this is the Average Sports Guys. I'm Eddie.
I'm Adam.
And this is Marcus. Let's go.
Yep. And as always, be sure to head over to our website and or to averagesportsguys.com. Check that out. All of our podcasts are posted there, both the links to listen as well as to watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Hit us up, man. You guys have questions? You want us to talk about anything? Whatever. We would love to interact and get that done. But until next time, we're out of here.
Yeah.